Ren, a young man with the unique gift of communicating with animals, had always held a humble place in his hero party. Though his skill, forming heart-based contracts with beasts, wasn't designed for direct combat, he gave his all in a supportive role, hoping to earn his team's respect. Sadly, his efforts were dismissed as inadequate. One day, without warning, Ren was cast out of the team. He initially thought it was a cruel joke, but the cold expressions of Arios, Agus, Lin, and Mina made it clear they meant every word. They branded him a liability, claiming he added no value to the group. The harsh rejection shook Ren deeply. As their sneers echoed in his ears, Ren slowly removed his cloak and departed, his heart weighed down with disbelief. Alone and dispirited, he sat quietly, reflecting on his time with the team. Though he'd always been looked down upon for being a beast tamer, a role often underestimated, he never expected to be thrown away like this. While lost in thought, a group of children approached, curious about his work. Ren hesitated, unsure how to respond, but their eager eyes encouraged him. He summoned an eagle, forming a contract on the spot, and gave them a little show. The children were delighted. Through them, Ren learned that ordinary people didn't hold the hero party in such high regard. In fact, many seemed to admire people like him more, those who were kind and approachable. The kid's dream of becoming adventurers sparked an idea in Ren's mind. Adventurers took on jobs for pay, perhaps this was a path worth exploring. Wasting no time, Ren headed to the local adventurers guild. There, he met Natalie, the receptionist. Before she could explain the basic trial, Ren asked her to elaborate on what adventuring involved. His former team never bothered with adventurers, viewing them as inferior. Natalie, impressed by Ren's genuine interest, explained everything to him. Once she finished, they moved on to discuss the entry test. But when Ren mentioned he was a beast tamer, Natalie's tone shifted slightly, her concern clear. She doubted his ability to complete the trial alone. Her hesitation mirrored the way his team used to treat him. Still, Ren swallowed the sting of her words and pressed forward. The first challenge required defeating 10 goblins and gathering 20 bundles of herbs. Using his animal-based skills, Ren tracked the goblins with ease and completed the F-rank task. Just as things seemed to be turning around, a scream pierced the air. Ren rushed toward the sound and found a girl under threat from an assassin tiger. Drawing his short blade, he fought to protect her, but the weapon barely made a mark on the powerful beast. While the beast's focus was locked on him, Ren shouted for the girl to flee. At that moment, he had no beasts at his side to summon and no weapons nearby. Just as his mind raced for a solution, a figure appeared behind the assassin tiger. With incredible agility, a girl soared high into the air and struck the beast from above, landing a powerful blow that gravely wounded it. After taking down the enemy in one move, she bashfully turned and sat atop its back. This pink-haired girl, carrying an elegant presence, was named Kanat. As Ren looked at her more closely, he realized she was a member of the Spirit Cat clan, one of the most legendary and rare bloodlines known to exist. Just as he processed this, the girl showed signs of weakness and collapsed to the ground. Ren rushed over to her side, worried she might be hurt. But leaning close to check, he was surprised to hear her whisper that she was just hungry. Without hesitation, Ren offered her his food. He watched her as she ate, still in disbelief that someone from the nearly extinct Spirit Cat clan was right before him. Kanat revealed she hadn't eaten anything in days. Once she was full, she began to introduce herself properly. When Ren responded by introducing himself, she quickly corrected him not to use formalities like Miss and to simply call her Kanat. Ren couldn't help but wonder why someone like her was wandering in the forest. Kanat admitted she had left her quiet life in the mountains out of boredom and decided to explore the world, an adventure that led to her meeting him, which she felt was fated. Before long, she asked him to tell her about his past. Though he normally felt uneasy discussing it, for some reason he found it easy to open up to Kanat. When she heard how he was expelled from the hero party, Kanat was furious on his behalf. Ren deeply appreciated how much she cared. Even though she was upset, because Ren didn't dwell on it, she also chose to move on. Feeling a bit awkward yet grateful, Ren instinctively patted her head, a gesture she surprisingly enjoyed. Though he hadn't meant to do it consciously, seeing her reaction made him decide not to apologize. Then, with a more serious tone, Kanat made something clear. Ren wasn't weak at all, in fact, he had great strength, especially in beast taming. She even felt a strange, electric sensation the moment she saw him. It hinted that Ren might be capable of commanding her, which meant he might even have the rare ability to command her entire clan, something only a select few in the world could do. However, Ren didn't dwell on the idea of authority. What mattered more to him was the connection he was forming with Kanat. With that thought in mind, he pricked his finger to draw a small amount of blood, preparing to form a contract with her. According to the ritual, the bond would only be complete if Kanat willingly spoke her own name aloud. Things wouldn't have progressed if not for what happened next. Kanat unexpectedly stated her name aloud, signaling her agreement to form a contract with Ren. This made him genuinely thrilled. A red circular symbol appeared on her hand, sealing their pact. They shook hands to mark their new bond. Who would have expected a beast tamer like Ren, who had just lost both his team and direction, would end up partnering with a member of one of the strongest clans, and such an adorable one too. But before they could head back to Fire and City, they still had to finish an outstanding adventurer task. Later, Kanat noticed Ren creating a temporary pact with a rabbit, which sparked a bit of jealousy in her. Still, she found herself enchanted by the fluffy, cotton-like creatures. Watching Ren summon more of them to assist with gathering supplies only deepened her envy. He really had a knack for timing. Yet, Ren remained completely oblivious to her feelings, much to Kanat's irritation. Before long, Ren successfully completed the mission and passed the evaluation. As a result, Natalie granted him an F-rank adventurer card. She also handed over his reward, 50 copper coins. She added that if he continued at this pace, higher ranks and better rewards would come his way soon. Ren then returned to Kanat and shared that he planned to start taking on quests regularly. She was excited and gave her full support. Their moment was interrupted by a rude individual who suddenly approached. He was intrigued by Kanat, recognizing her as a rare member of the Spirit Cat clan. When she replied curtly, his interest only grew. He even asked her out for drinks. Then he tried to insult Ren in front of her, bringing up how he didn't look like much. Kanat's demeanor shifted instantly, first standing up as she fiercely declared in public that Ren was her master. The man laughed in disbelief. After all, how could a legendary spirit cat be under someone's control? He dismissed her words and mocked the idea that Ren was some incredible beast tamer. Provoked, he proposed a duel, staking Kanat on the outcome. Ren knew there were whispers about his capabilities, and backing down might only put Kanat in more danger. So he accepted the challenge, determined to settle it quickly. And surprisingly, within mere moments, Ren took the thug down effortlessly, so fast even he didn't know what hit him. The defeated man clutched his arm and howled in pain. Natalie, hearing the disturbance, rushed outside. She recognized the troublemaker immediately. It was someone the guild had been watching due to frequent misconduct. She apologized to Ren on behalf of the guild and informed him that they were seriously considering stripping the man of his adventurer status. Before she could finish speaking, he tugged at her skirt, prompting Natalie to swiftly teach him a much-needed lesson. Afterward, her demeanor shifted entirely as she turned to Ren with a curious expression, asking for an explanation. During the adventurer's exam, Ren had unexpectedly made a pact with one of the most powerful clans around. Natalie's intense questioning startled both of them, and they immediately apologized out of fear. Realizing she might have gone overboard, Natalie softened, saying she was only joking, then bid them farewell to take care of some remaining business. Ren, meanwhile, was left wondering how he had managed to overpower that guy so easily. Kanat cleared up his confusion. She explained that since he had made a pact with a high-ranking clan, just like he had also received a massive boost in power, equal to that of the Spirit Cat clan. Ren was taken aback. No one from his hometown had ever done anything like that. Even more, Kanat was thrilled that Ren had defended her earlier, which left him blushing, unable to respond. Soon after, they headed out on their next task. Kanat had expected something dramatic, swinging giant swords or rescuing princesses. But in reality, it was nothing more than collecting herbs. Ren explained that as an F-rank adventurer, the lowest possible rank. He could only take on simple requests. Understanding this, Kanat perked up and offered to help. Unexpectedly, the rabbits Ren had temporarily bonded with had already finished the job. Kanat looked at them, baffled, suspecting foul play. She felt disheartened, upset that even though she was Ren's familiar, she hadn't contributed anything useful. Just then, shouting echoed in the distance, grabbing their attention. They ran toward the noise. There, they found a large, intimidating group of men cornering an elderly man. From what Kanat remembered during her own training, these were members of the Black Fang Bandits, a ruthless group of over 100 known for violence and lawlessness. They were clearly dangerous, and Kanat urged Ren to consider getting help. But Ren didn't want to waste time. He was ready to act. Seeing his determination made Kanat feel genuinely proud. Ren asked her to protect the old man while he handled the attackers. The moment he finished, they both leapt into action, striking down the foes with swift precision. In the midst of the fight, Kanat found herself thinking deeply about Ren. Despite having access to immense power after forming a contract with her, he never lost control or became reckless. As his familiar, shouldn't she be the one stepping forward to shield him? Wouldn't that make more sense? Yet Ren always positioned himself as her protector. Each time she watched him fight, she couldn't look away, her heart raced, and her emotion surged. Once the skirmish ended, Ren glanced over and noticed Kanat's face glowing red. Embarrassed, she quickly deflected and changed the topic. The elderly man also came forward to express his gratitude to them both. Ren found it odd that a merchant like him was traveling without any security. The old man explained that he had indeed hired protection, but when danger appeared, the hired guard had fled the scene. Even though they had rescued him, the old man warned Ren that the Black Fangs wouldn't let this go quietly. He advised Ren to stay alert, as they would likely return to avenge their fallen comrades. Expecting Ren to back off in fear, the old man was surprised when Ren boldly declared his intent to raid their hideout and eliminate them. Ren was aware that the gang was notorious for their cruelty and thirst for revenge. If they weren't dealt with, the local merchants would continue to suffer. Fortunately, Ren had discovered their hideout with the help of a clever little squirrel. At the same time, Kanat was feeling down. She regretted being unable to assist despite being his familiar. But after venting, she quickly regained her positivity and asked Ren about his strategy. Ren planned to make use of a creature known as Count Bee by forming a temporary bond with it. The bee had venom that could paralyze enemies, which would be perfect for disabling the gang's guards. Kanat was shocked. Bees were insects, after all. How could Ren control them? Ren clarified that in his hometown, he had learned a form of beast taming specifically meant for insects, known as insect taming. Kanat was amazed by Ren's ever-expanding skill set. Every time she learned something new about him, it left her in awe. Soon after, Ren asked Kanat to return to town and bring back reinforcements. She was stunned again. Until now, she had never been given a task where she could actively help him. Despite her surprise, she enthusiastically agreed and went to call in support from the Night Squadron. This group operated under state authority and was responsible for protecting towns and cities. As soon as Kanat left, the Count Bees gathered, and Ren began forming the temporary contract to take command of them. Meanwhile, Lin, Mina, and their companions were fleeing from the gang members. They had taken on a mission simply to pass the time and earn some quick money before heading into the Lost Forest. Now they regretted it. Had they known things would go south, they would have rather visited Arios and Agus instead. In her frustration, Lin lashed out at the beast tamer with them. He had abandoned them even earlier in the fight. He had said up front that he wasn't suited for battle, being a beast tamer. Reflecting on that, Lin brought up Ren. Though he wasn't exactly reliable, he still had the courage to fight up front and could even control multiple creatures at once. The beast tamer was stunned to hear that handling more than one animal was difficult, let alone 10. Controlling many beasts at once usually overwhelmed the mind due to the strain, yet Ren seemed to do it effortlessly. Despite her own doubts, Lin acknowledged that Ren could command several creatures without flinching. Eventually, Lin decided to shift the blame for the failed mission onto Ren, hoping to preserve the hero team's reputation. She gave the beast tamer a terrifying glare, causing him to retreat in panic, though even she wasn't sure how serious she really sounded. Mina couldn't shake the feeling that the stranger's words earlier resembled Ren's way of speaking. Still, Lin was reluctant to accept the idea that Ren could be someone of remarkable skill. Elsewhere, the bandits had been incapacitated by the Count Bee's venom and were unable to move. Thankfully, Kanat showed up right on time with some allies. However, they weren't elite fighters like the Night Squadron, just regular adventurers like himself. Still, they were stunned by Ren's boldness in facing off against the entire Black Fang. Everything seemed to be under control until a thunderous roar echoed from behind the doors. Out burst the Demon Lizard King, a rank C-level monster the bandits had secretly been saving for an emergency. It immediately went into a frenzy, swinging its massive tail and launching people through the air. Ren took flight and landed a powerful punch on the beast, followed by Kanat smashing its jaw with a solid strike. Ren quickly told the others to evacuate while he and Kanat stayed behind to handle the creature. Moments like this brought back memories of his time with Ario's group, when they thought he was useless. But now, he was stronger and had Kanat by his side. Outside, everyone anxiously waited and prayed for their safety. Relief swept through the group when both Ren and Kanat eventually emerged unharmed. It became clear that Ren had finally earned respect, something he lacked after being removed from the hero team for supposedly being useless. More than anything, being with Kanat gave him confidence. Having her around made him feel like he could take on anything. After spending many nights out in the wild, the two finally booked a room to rest. Kanat looked thrilled with the comfort of an actual bed. Ren, however, was stunned when the staff handed them a shared room. He had clearly intended for them to have separate ones. He tried to back out, offering to sleep outside instead, which caught Kanat off guard. She insisted he stay, they'd already paid for a full week. Ren then explained that boys and girls shouldn't sleep in the same room. Kanat brushed it off at first, saying she didn't mind sharing with him. But then her cheeks turned red and she awkwardly added that it'd be fine as long as he didn't do anything inappropriate. Ren gave her a quick lecture about being cautious, reminding her not to blindly trust people, including him. After all, they barely knew each other. Kanat disagreed. She said she didn't trust everyone, just Ren, because he wasn't like the others. From the moment they met, she had already seen him as a comrade. Ren was a little embarrassed by her honesty but smiled and agreed to stay inside that night. As he drifted off to sleep, a pair of eyes watched him. Kanat, curled beside him, silently thought about how kind he seemed. Until now, most people she met only cared about using her for gain, whether it was wealth or status. Because Kanat belonged to a rare spirit cat lineage, many had tried to capture her over time. But this time, the one she encountered, Ren, was unlike the others. Instead of seeing her as a prize, Ren showed only genuine curiosity and kindness. He saved her simply out of compassion, without expecting anything in return. He treated her as an ordinary girl, which warmed her heart deeply. Kanat could also sense the pain he hid. Rejection from his previous team had left a scar. Even though Ren acted fine on the outside, she knew that hurt still lingered, and she genuinely wanted to help heal that wound. A full week had passed since their meeting. They had taken on several quests successfully, and Ren had been promoted to an E-rank adventurer. One day, Natalie mentioned a troublesome figure blocking the way at Stain Bridge. Apparently, a rogue fighter had been starting conflicts with anyone who tried to cross. There hadn't been any deaths, but people had started avoiding the route altogether. Natalie encouraged Ren to consider the job, pointing out that it had no rank restrictions and came with a reward of 5 gold coins. The amount was impressive enough that Ren accepted right away. They set off for Stain Bridge, which was a vital link connecting Horizon City in the central continent to the southern lands. Kanat admired the scenery, curious about the so-called gatekeeper. Even Ren found the lack of information strange, since no one had died. Survivors should have reported something, but no one had spoken up. That made him wary, and he stayed alert. Then Kanat noticed something soaring in the sky. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a member of the rare dragon clan, a young, graceful dragon girl. This dragon was named Tanya, and she wasn't thrilled about being referred to as a mere gatekeeper. Carrying herself like nobility, Tanya had been through intense training since childhood. It was tradition in her clan for members to set off on their own at the age of 15, seeking challenges to grow stronger. Spotting Ren and Kanat piqued her interest. They were exactly the kind of strong opponents she was hoping to find. Realizing the situation couldn't be avoided, Kanat knew they'd have to engage this dragon from one of the strongest clans. She told Ren not to hold back. After all, she came from a powerful clan too. The battle began. Tanya made the first move, knocking Ren back with impressive force. She followed it up by breathing fire at Kanat. Kanat, caught off guard, couldn't dodge in time and suffered damage. Her beloved tail got scorched. Furious now, Kanat launched a counterattack to show Tanya she wasn't to be underestimated. The two clashed fiercely, with Ren watching in awe at how equally matched they were. Ren moved in to support Kanat, but Tanya unexpectedly intervened, grabbing them both and twirling them like spinning tops. She unleashed a powerful fire attack, her final move, aimed directly at them. Luckily, they managed to react just in time, coordinating mid-air to dodge the flames and land without injury. Having previously clashed with a dragon clan, Ren understood why Tanya was regarded as part of one of the most formidable lineages. Now, he shifted to his beast tamer tactics. He left Kanat to hold Tanya's attention. The loyal feline complied, attacking with a flurry of strikes like a fierce tiger. Meanwhile, Ren focused his energy, trying to recall the presence of a specific creature he had sensed earlier during the battle. He successfully formed a temporary bond with an eagle and summoned a flock to assist him. Returning with the birds in tow, he commanded them to dive at Tanya. Though their attacks weren't especially damaging, they managed to stop her movements. These birds were a rare type known as the Peter species. Their bright feathers were a sign of toxicity. Even members of the dragon clan could be paralyzed for a time if exposed to enough of it. To their surprise, Tanya quickly yielded, leaving both Ren and Canet stunned. Overjoyed, Canet embraced Ren tightly. Ren then extended an offer for Tanya to join their group. She responded with a cynical smile, suspecting a trap or an attempt to sell her off. But Ren's intentions were simple. He just wanted to have an honest conversation. Despite her refusal, Ren stayed calm and smiled kindly, catching Tanya off guard. Her face flushed slightly at his unexpected warmth. Just as she was beginning to soften, a cold glare from Canet sent shivers down her spine. Canet warned Tanya to behave and not interfere with Ren again, or suffer consequences. When they returned to the guild, Natalie was shocked that Ren had already dealt with the gatekeeper. She expressed her gratitude, but her attention quickly shifted to a vibrant red figure standing nearby. The horns and tail led her to suspect a member of the dragon clan. Before she could ask more, Ren quickly claimed that the girl was simply someone he'd met on a recent job. Tanya tried to strike a regal pose and introduce herself, but Ren and Canet silenced her and dragged her off before she could finish. While walking, Ren was discussing their next steps when suddenly, Tanya vanished. She had gone off again. Her habit was to challenge any strong opponent she came across to a duel. She also had a habit of announcing her lineage at every opportunity, exhausting Ren and Canet to the point of collapse from having to babysit her. When confronted, Tanya looked embarrassed. Ren firmly told her to leave the city for the time being. He reminded her that the truth about the gatekeeper needed to remain hidden, and if she could agree to keep things quiet, he'd let her go. That's when Canet realized why Tanya's reputation wasn't already widespread. Those who lost to her were too ashamed to talk about it. According to her clan's customs, Tanya should return for further training. But instead, she decided it'd be easier to stick with them and continue her growth alongside Ren and Canet. Afterward, she wrapped her arms around Ren's neck and shyly admitted her feelings for him, causing Canet beside her to puff up her fur in irritation. To add to the surprise, Tanya also asked Ren to form a contract with her. Ren hadn't anticipated this outcome. Not only had he made a pact with the Spirit Cat clan, but now with the Dragon clan as well. Once the contract was sealed, a red emblem lit up on Tanya's palm. For the first time, she understood what it meant to be bound by a command. It created a constant, invisible link between her and Ren. Ren himself felt like he had exhausted all his good fortune in one go. Meanwhile, Erio's team was still struggling in the forest, lost for an entire week with nothing to show for it. A thought crept into Erio's mind. They could lure Ren back to help them conquer the forest, and then abandon him again afterward. Back at camp, Canet and Tanya were locked in a petty standoff over who got to sleep on the bed. Ren, on the other hand, was completely unbothered, stretched out on the floor and fast asleep. Eventually, Tanya officially joined Ren's group, and their next mission involved taking care of a growing slime infestation. Slimes, often ignored by adventurers, had multiplied rapidly and were starting to damage farmland. Canet clearly despised slimes. Each time she attacked one, its sticky remains clung to her fur. When she complained, Tanya smugly replied that her fire magic would wipe them out quickly. Impressed, Canet stared at her with admiration, relieved someone was up for the dirty job. Ren was happy to see them getting along. He'd been worried they might clash. After some time searching without finding any slimes, Ren decided to use a special ability called assimilation. By sending a piece of his soul into a bird and anchoring his mind there, he could take full control of its body. This ability, known as assimilation, was unique to beast tamers. Canet and Tanya were speechless watching it. They hadn't expected Ren to pull off something like that. With the bird under his control, Ren took off in search of the slime nest, leaving the girls to watch over his real body. Some time later, they arrived at the slime nesting grounds. Canet intended to finish the task swiftly and cleanly, but Tanya had a different idea. She wanted Ren to try using his magic. When questioned, Ren shared that he had been practicing fireball magic along with basic healing spells. Upon hearing that, Tanya encouraged him to test out his fireball spell on the slimes. Ren was doubtful, saying his magic wasn't powerful enough to handle so many of the green creatures at once. Still, he chose to focus his energy and cast a single fireball. Surprisingly, it unleashed an overwhelming force, wiping out all the slimes in one go. Tanya then revealed the reason behind it, because Ren had made a pact with the Dragon clan through her. The magical energy of the Dragon Clan was said to be second only to the most powerful among all the great clans. Now, that strength flowed within him. Ren was left stunned, realizing he now carried the power of two of the mightiest clans and struggled to comprehend it all. From that moment, both Tanya and Kanat started helping Ren refine his magical control. But Ren hadn't expected his dragon mentor to be so intense. Her tough training left him breathless and drained. Yet, the results were worth it. He made significant progress in learning how to manage and channel his magical energy. Later, after collecting their reward from the guild, Ren treated the two lovely women to a hearty meal. To his shock, their appetites were monstrous. It was the kind of feast that could bankrupt a wealthy merchant. Afterward, Tanya grew curious and asked Ren how he came to learn the art of taming. He didn't find it an exciting story, but still explained the origin of his beast-taming abilities, which came from his hometown. Ren's village was one where beast tamers gathered. It was part of their tradition. His mother and father were both tamers, and so it was only natural that Ren grew up learning the craft. Even the insect taming skill he had shown Kanat was something passed down from his fellow villagers. Though the village was small and unknown, it had once been a peaceful, happy place. But it no longer existed. Hearing this, both Tanya and Kanat felt uneasy, realizing they'd brought up a painful memory, though they truly wished to know more about him. Ren hesitated at first. Still, seeing them as comrades, he eventually agreed to share his past. It happened when he was just 12. On that day, both of his parents were occupied and unable to supervise his taming training. So Ren had gone alone to the training grounds at the outskirts of the village. He continued practicing until dusk. As night fell, he noticed the sky glowing with an eerie red hue. Alarmed by the strange sight, he sprinted back toward the village. By the time he arrived, it was too late. The village had been reduced to burning ruins following a monster raid. Ren was the only one left alive. Later, a group of adventurers stumbled upon the aftermath and rescued him. Afterward, he was taken in by someone connected to the adventurer and began living and working at a small inn. From then on, Ren lived with purpose, pushing himself to survive and grow stronger. Life went on in the same way, until about 6 months ago, when Ren came across Erio's group. Coincidentally, they happened to be in need of another member, so they extended an invitation to him. Without hesitation, Ren accepted. He believed that by becoming part of a hero party, he might be able to make a difference, and perhaps prevent others from facing the same fate as his village. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out that way. Reality hit hard when he realized Erio's team only saw him as a disposable tool. This betrayal dragged Ren back into a deep emotional void. But unexpectedly, Kanat reached out to him, offering comfort. She believed Ren was courageous, someone who charged into danger and put in genuine effort. The group recognized his intentions. They knew Ren truly wanted to be a source of strength for others so no one would have to endure the same pain he did. They assured him that he wasn't weak or worthless. Even Tanya scolded him for acting recklessly. But deep down, both girls were proud to serve under someone like him. The following day, they received another quest, this time to hunt down orcs. It was an E-rank job, similar in danger level to goblins. However, orcs had the edge in intelligence, able to use weapons effectively. Despite Ren's repeated warnings not to underestimate them, Tanya, being of noble lineage, was sure she'd never be bested by such creatures. Ironically, during the fight, Tanya was caught off guard when an orc nearly grabbed her, twice. Thankfully, Ren and Kanat rushed in just in time to save her, although Ren suffered a minor injury. He healed himself, so it wasn't serious. Tanya, however, was left feeling ashamed and anxious, blaming herself for what had happened. After the mission, they returned to the guild to turn in the materials. As they left, Ren noticed Kanat looking downcast. When he questioned her, she explained that Tanya wasn't acting like herself and had gone off on her own. Tanya had ended up alone on a bridge, lost in thought, when a little girl approached and asked what monster she had defeated that day. The child then gently asked if Tanya was hurt and told her to speak up if she was. The innocent concern touched Tanya. It made her reflect on how Ren had also worried about her, but she had brushed it off, too proud of her heritage to admit weakness. Now, she didn't know how to face him. Just then, Ren showed up, taking her by surprise. She quickly lowered her head and offered an apology, tears threatening to fall. Ren smiled gently and patted her head. He reassured her, mentioning how Kanat had also been worried. Later, when they returned to the inn, Tanya realized that not only was Ren not upset with her, he had actually been scared for her safety. He even gave up his own bed for her? In that moment, Tanya found herself unable to stop thinking about Ren. She told herself to get a grip and not be so emotionally swayed. The next day, they accepted a new quest and set off once more. Tanya sensed it was time to upgrade their gear. Since they hailed from the top clans, this wasn't an issue. However, Ren, being just an ordinary human, stood apart from them. They were enjoying themselves when Ren suddenly stiffened. Right ahead of them stood Erio's group, approaching casually. The moment Ren laid eyes on them, he felt a wave of dislike. Without hesitation, he guided Tanya and Kanat in another direction. Still, Erio shamelessly called out to him, questioning why he was acting as cold as ice. He even pretended to be friendly, bringing up memories of their old days as teammates and saying they regretted their actions. Not wanting to see their leader disrespected, Tanya and Kanat stepped forward protectively, radiating a cool aura. Erio's group was stunned when they realized two elites from the strongest clans were siding with Ren. The thought that Ren had influence over such powerful individuals left them speechless. Then came an invitation to help explore the Lost Forest. With Ren's ability to control animals, navigating or transporting gear would be effortless. This arrogant request sparked fury in Ren. They had once cast him out, and now they dared to ask him to carry their load. Their inconsistent behavior made him want to hit someone, so he immediately rejected their offer and walked away with the girls. But then, Mina's voice called him back. She tried to appeal to his emotions with a noble tale about saving the world. Deep in the forest, she said, was a shield essential for defeating the Demon Lord. Without it, their chances of success were zero. Without that shield, monsters would overrun the world. Those with power could still fight, but ordinary folk would be defenseless. Her words triggered a painful memory in Ren, his old village, reduced to ashes. The image tortured him, and his compassion overpowered his anger. He reluctantly agreed to help Erio's group. Yet instead of gratitude, they treated him with disdain, as though they could easily fool the two stunning women with him. Despite their distaste, the two girls kept quiet, obeying Ren's decision. Still, they firmly demanded that the group issue a sincere apology. They even said kneeling and bowing would be appropriate. Forced to kneel, Erio boiled with anger and shouted furiously. His companions shared his pride, believing they were blameless. Enraged, Erio grabbed Ren by the collar and mocked him for failing to control his pets. Hearing Tanya and Kanat being degraded like that enraged Ren. Without a second thought, he struck Erio, knocking him down cold. His gaze turned menacing as he warned them never to touch his allies. Furious, Erio rose again and challenged Ren to a duel. Kanat and Tanya were assigned to manage the rest of the group, while Erio and Ren prepared to face off. The opening duel featured August squaring up against the feline-like fighter. She was livid, determined to beat him down and force an apology for what he did to Ren. Kanat charged in like a whirlwind, overwhelming him with sheer speed, leaving him barely able to defend himself. August retaliated with a blazing sword technique, but then, with a sudden powerful kick, she left him frozen in shock. Realizing he had already gone all out, she casually mentioned she was only using half of her real strength. Her cute yet intimidating presence stunned him. His limbs shook as he processed that she wasn't even close to full power. Without further warning, Kanat picked up speed and delivered a brutal kick that drew blood and hurled him into a nearby tree. Meanwhile, Tanya was tasked with taking down two feeble opponents. One snap of her fingers was enough to cancel out their spells completely. Tanya couldn't help but laugh at their stunned expressions, finding it almost entertaining. Despite their stubborn attempts to cast again, another snap from her fingers erased their efforts. Their magic simply didn't affect her in the slightest. Frustrated, they began mocking Tanya's appearance, calling her a lizard, and fired off a series of attacks. Each time, Tanya snapped her fingers and erased their spells like swatting flies. This repeated failure drained their will to fight, and they eventually dropped to the ground in defeat. Though she didn't enjoy humiliating the weak, she felt it necessary to show them true power for daring to go after her master. The sky began to darken with swirling clouds, terrifying the two. They were certain Tanya was about to destroy them. To their surprise, it was only a bluff. She merely wanted to scare them, which worked, as both nearly passed out from fear. Tanya ultimately spared them, not wanting Ren to reprimand her, and walked away. At the battle's onset, Arios had insulted Ren, but Ren ignored it and struck without hesitation. Thus, their clash began. Ren acknowledged Arios' refined swordsmanship and admitted he was indeed worthy of the title hero. However, Ren quickly shifted into the mindset of a beast tamer once more. His strength came from both his pact with Kanat and the training that sharpened his ability to read his opponent's intent. Ren had closely studied Ario's past duels, the rhythm of his steps, the patterns in his swings, and his fakes. He had begun to understand Ario's entire fighting style. Each of Ren's strikes carried the power of two mighty bloodlines. If he were to fight without restraint, Ario's would lose without question. He even advised him to yield. But Ario's refused, too proud to back down. So Ren invoked the same technique Count B had used, paralyzing Ario's and forcing him to admit defeat. Deep down, Ren still carried resentment over Ario's earlier insult to his allies. Ario's had been defeated and fell back on desperate measures, trying to restore past friendships. But Ren wasn't naive anymore and refused to be manipulated. Without hesitation, Ren raised his hand and struck Ario's with a punch. Luckily for Ario's, Ren held back. Had he used his full strength, it could have ended his life. Around the same time, Kanat and Tanya arrived and immediately ran into Ren's embrace. The trio then set off together into the depths of the lost forest. But the forest was damp, eerie, and covered in darkness. Tanya even joked about setting the entire place ablaze once and for all, but Ren stopped her. Too many creatures called this place home. Ren reflected on the situation. If the shield really existed, only chosen heroes could wield it. Looking over the map drawn by Ario's team, Ren felt it had become useless. The forest had changed too rapidly. Remembering Tanya's earlier confrontation with Ario's party brought Ren a sense of ease. Ario's began sharing information, revealing that a beast deep within the forest supposedly guarded the Shield of Truth, the key to defeating the Demon Lord. Though Ario's was offering insights, he still carried his usual arrogance and didn't seem truly remorseful. Kanat scolded him, and Ren gave him a light tap on the head, which instantly drained their energy. Both Kanat and Tanya felt unworthy of Ren's support. Tanya even considered going after the Demon Lord on her own if it came to that. Sensing their concern for him, Ren gently patted their heads to comfort them. He assured them things would be alright. Afterward, Ren summoned a bird to merge with, just like before, to scout the forest. Kanat and Tanya remained behind to protect his physical form. Soaring above, Ren noticed a concealed trail. Though it was tight and hidden, it seemed to lead to the heart of the forest. Ren returned and led the others. But no matter how far they walked, they always ended up back at the marker they'd set earlier, leaving them frustrated. Kanat assumed they'd just taken the wrong route. But Ren, who had tracked the birds from the sky, disagreed. It was understandable for one person to get lost, but all of them? That didn't make sense. Even Tanya began to suspect the forest was playing tricks on them. She conjured a magic circle and walked them to their intended destination. Her guess was right, illusion magic cloaked the tree at the forest's core. That's why they kept losing their way. After hearing her reasoning, Kanat was completely shocked. Tanya then told him to cut down the tree, which had been infused with magic. Removing it would dispel the illusion and let them move forward. However, Ren wondered whether there might be a way to break the spell without destroying the tree. But Tanya sensed the magic was extremely potent. It wasn't impossible to do, but she assumed it would take a considerable amount of time. Just as Kanat was about to throw her punch, a sudden voice echoed through the air, warning them to leave. From within the tree, a white-haired girl named Sora emerged, startling them. Ren instantly realized she was a member of the Spirit Clan. Like Kanat and Tanya, she belonged to one of the most powerful clans, known for their mastery of magic, even surpassing the Dragon Clan in magical ability. However, over 200 years ago, the Spirit Clan had completely withdrawn from human contact. To them, humans who destroyed forests were seen as natural threats. Eventually, friction between humans and the Spirit Clan escalated, leading them to retreat into seclusion. Ever since, they've harbored a deep resentment towards humanity. Ren wanted to say something to greet her, but she coldly ordered them to leave. She even went as far as to prepare an attack, intent on wiping them out, which left the group shaken and fleeing in fear. They couldn't understand why she was being so hostile. The Spirit Clan was typically known for its peaceful nature. Ren also sensed something unusual about her sudden appearance. He suspected it was related to their nearing the barrier. Even if the Spirit Clan held grudges against humans, Ren found it odd they might be working with monsters. As these thoughts crossed his mind, Tanya chose to step up. She would take charge of holding off the girl's magic. Meanwhile, Kanat would chop down the tree. As long as Tanya didn't overpower the girl, things would still align with Ren's original hopes. But, unexpectedly, Ren still clung to the idea of resolving things peacefully, wanting to speak with the girl again, leaving both of them speechless at how naive he still was. Still, they chose to respect his compassionate approach. When they returned, the young girl reacted angrily once more and immediately tried to drive them off. Ignoring anything Ren had to say, she instantly cast a spell to drive them away. Sensing the threat, Kanat and Tanya were ready to fight back but were stopped by Ren. He believed he could endure the attack and had no intention of backing down, being a beast tamer. He believed that if he truly faced her sincerely, he could express his emotions clearly. Ren didn't show anger toward her hostility, which left the girl stunned. Sora was confused by his response and questioned whether he was truly human, afraid he might be just another one of those who destroyed her forest. Even if he couldn't fully prove he wasn't like the others, Ren genuinely wanted Sora to believe he meant no harm. However, Sora remained composed and unmoved by his words. She raised her bow and fired at him once again. Luckily, this time, Kanat and Tanya intercepted it. They both spoke up, explaining Ren's intentions and insisting he wasn't a threat. As she listened to them argue in front of her, Sora found it all quite odd, humans, the Dragon Clan, and the Spirit Cat Clan alike. She had never encountered anyone quite like them before. At last, Sora agreed to sit down and speak with them. When Ren explained that they had set out in search of the Shield of Truth to aid the hero party but were trapped inside this barrier, Sora revealed that she was the one who had created it, and she could not allow them to destroy it. That barrier blocked the only route to the Spirit Clan's village. She could not risk her people being placed in harm's way. However, Tanya challenged her, asking if she was simply protecting the monsters. Sora responded that no Shield of Truth existed in this forest at all. In its deepest section was only the path to the Spirit Clan settlement. The artifact was actually safeguarded by the Spirit Clan themselves. This meant the hero group had been misled. Sora assured them that if the Demon Lord truly needed to be defeated, she would be willing to lend it to them. Moments later, she vanished briefly and returned holding a massive shield, her face without emotion, which left Ren taken aback. Despite her distaste for humans, she despised monsters even more. She handed the shield over without hesitation, and the trio considered offering something in exchange. But Sora refused, saying the Shield of Truth was promised long ago in an agreement between the Spirit Clan and the heroes of the past. She was merely honoring that pact. After accepting it, the three expressed their gratitude and began their journey back to the city. As their figures disappeared from view, Sora seemed as though she wanted to speak. Ren appeared to notice, turning back to question her. She hesitated, struggling to form the words. If she explained further, she knew Ren's team would offer their aid, which would inevitably pull them into her own troubles. She intended to stay silent, but Ren cut her off, declaring that no matter the risk, they would not back down. Tanya and Kanat also voiced their support, promising to help her with everything they had. Realizing they were trustworthy, Sora chose to reveal the truth. She told them she had a twin sister named Rena, whose temperament differed from hers but was equally gentle. Together, they maintained the barrier that protected the Spirit Clan's refuge. Though the job could be dull, Sora felt great joy whenever she was with her sister. But one day, while her group had some business beyond the barrier, they encountered a creature who called himself the Demon Lord. They attempted to flee but were overtaken, forcing them into battle. Not only were they unable to win, but Rena was taken captive. That being's name was the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was a C-rank monster, one the strongest clans would normally have no trouble defeating. However, he possessed a troublesome trait, the ability to nullify magic attacks, leaving only physical strikes as an option. Since the Spirit Clan specialized in magic, they were at a severe disadvantage. According to Sora, the Dark Knight's mission was to wipe out his enemies, the most powerful clans in existence. Sora had been told by the Dark Knight to take down the barrier if she wished to save Rena. However, she couldn't bring herself to accept, as doing so would endanger her whole clan. On her own, she had no way to act. In desperation, she went to the village chief for help. Yet, he coldly told her to abandon Rena, blaming the sisters for stepping beyond the safety of the barrier in the first place. Even Tanya thought the chief's response was far too harsh. Now torn between her sister's safety and the survival of the village, Sora felt overwhelmed with despair. Seeing her distress, Ren stepped forward and offered to help bring Rena back. Overcome with gratitude, the young girl collapsed against him, crying uncontrollably. The Dark Knight's command was clear: remove the forest's protective barrier before nightfall, or Rena would be lost. Ren's team immediately set out in search of him. Sora pleaded to accompany them, but Ren convinced her to remain behind. If she showed up, the Dark Knight might see it as betrayal and take Ren's life instantly. That night, they spotted the Dark Knight, with Ren bound high above beside him. Seizing the moment, the three of them launched an attack, using magic to draw his attention, followed by Ren driving his fist deep into his midsection. But even with those blows, the Dark Knight stood firm. He assumed Ren was some hero and realized Sora had sought their aid, which only enraged him further. Feeling deceived, he tried to kill Ren on the spot. Thankfully, Tanya's dragon wings shielded her. She quickly freed the girl and left the fight to Ren and Kanit. Enraged, the Dark Knight unleashed his power. Ren quickly understood how he'd managed to infiltrate the Spirit Clan village alone. He carried the monstrous energy of the Demon Lord. If this continued, the forest itself might be wiped out. Ren ordered Kanit to pin him down and strike with all her might. Though she feared her bull-like strength still might not be enough, she followed his command. Meanwhile, Ren focused on forging a temporary pact to summon the Count Bees again. Though they couldn't paralyze the enemy, they could serve as a distraction, giving Kanit her chance. Strengthening magic from Ren surged through her, amplifying her abilities. Just as he anticipated, Kanit's empowered blow caused the Dark Knight to vanish in an instant. She was delighted by the strength she had been granted. Ren explained it was a special beast tamer magic that temporarily magnified a person's natural power. Before, he had lacked the mana to perform it, but with the extra energy from Tanya, he had succeeded. Soon after, Tanya landed with Ren safe in her arms. Tanya was taken aback, as the enhancement skill was considered a long-lost art. Yet somehow, Ren managed to grasp it as well. Ren could only rub the back of his head and claim it just came to him naturally. Their achievements brought joy to everyone. The commotion ended up waking little Ren, and soon the long-separated sisters, Sora and Ren, were reunited. Sora felt deeply thankful. Without Ren's companions, she shuddered to imagine the cruel punishments her sister might have faced. Of course, those dark visions were only in her mind. Before long, the sisters returned to their usual selves, bickering and teasing each other. Ren noticed that even though they looked exactly alike, their personalities couldn't be more different. It was clear, however, that neither wanted to remain here under guard. Sora refused to live among those who had once been ready to cast her sister aside. They longed to explore beyond the forest rather than stay hidden away. When Kanit heard this, he warmly invited them to travel with Ren's party for the fun of it. Tanya had no objections. Ren, though, worried the sisters might feel uneasy joining a group of humans. But Sora, a little embarrassed, reminded him that he had once said people could be both good and bad. She didn't know what others were like, but for Ren's sake, she wanted to see the world. Hearing this, Ren gladly accepted them into the group. Soon after, the sisters insisted on forming a contract similar to Kanit's and Tanya's. When it came to bonding with the Spirit Clan, Ren knew it was tricky. Each race had its own unique nature. The basic taming method worked on most creatures, but spirits were another matter entirely. This felt like a true test for him. Ren began the ritual to bind Sora and Runa at the same time. In the end, the contract succeeded, though the strain of binding two members of such a powerful clan drained him heavily, causing him to collapse. Luckily, the sisters caught him before he hit the ground. Witnessing this, Kanit and Tanya couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to know what happens next.